All right, today we have Eddie Watson with us, who will be our closing plenary at the Teaching Professor Annual Conference. So he's the Associate Vice President for Curricular and Pedagogical Innovation and the Executive Director of Open Educational Resources and Digital and Innovation with the American Association of Colleges and Universities. So we're going to be discussing your plenary today and what you'll be talking about at the conference. But before we do that, let's dive into, what inspired you to pursue a career in higher education and kind of how did you end up on this path?
That's a very good question. Well, I guess I was a first generation college student, and my parents' aspiration for me going to college was mostly about me returning back to my hometown, and maybe I could be a manager at the auto parts plant where my father worked, as opposed to just someone that was a line worker. And higher ed, once I got there, it was really a revolutionary experience for me. It really proved to open 1,000 new doors. And ultimately, I wanted to contribute to similar kinds of experiences for other students. Though, interestingly, I have returned pretty much to my hometown. I live just about 15 minutes away from where my parents live. So, I think the whole notion of roots and wings, I think, has been essential for me. But that's what's really driven my career, is wanting to help those find the transformative power of higher education and to contribute to institutions and to faculty being able to ensure that such experiences truly happen for their students.
Awesome. And then at the Teaching Professor, your conference, you'll be talking about, teaching in the age of AI, and you'll also be talking about your new book. So before we dive into kind of what your book is about, give us a little overview of what you'll be talking about at the conference and how will it be different, from what educators have already heard about teaching in the age of AI.
Yeah, I think that, pretty much the last maybe 12 to 18 months, the conversation around AI within higher education, for most, certainly not for everyone, but for most, has been, okay, how do we prevent students from using it? Okay, well, if we can't prevent them, how do we detect if they're using it? How do we make changes in sort of like the ecosystem around our course without necessarily making changes within our course? But as we think about the impact and opportunities for students within our courses, there's things for us to rethink, but there's also this notion of recognizing that we are preparing our students for a world beyond graduation, beyond our campus. And a lot of the employer surveys, a lot of the reports are showing that there's an increasing expectation among employers that their new hires have AI competencies and literacies. So higher education, I think, now has a new essential learning outcome for it, and it includes AI literacy. So I think the big question for us going forward isn't necessarily how do we prevent students from using AI, but it's more about how do we ensure that our courses still engender the previous learning outcomes that we had designed for them, but then also coupling that knowledge and expertise with a new set of competencies around AI. Now, there's certainly times where we'll want to see what our students can do without using AI, but there is indeed an expectation now ahead of us that our students will indeed be political scientists or philosophers or chemists, but then they'll also have competencies associated with AI that will be married with those skills in real world jobs beyond graduation.
And then your plenary also expands on your new book. And so kind of let's talk about what your new book is about and what inspired you to, write it.
Well, so when ChatGPT came out in November of 2022, it was a couple of weeks after that my son was home from college for winter break, and he showed it to me, and he showed me what it could do. And the first words out of my mouth were, "Oh no," that this is actually a bit of a game changer, a significant game changer, given what students can now do with the technology, and how does this make us rethink really kind of the DNA of our courses. So like thinking about assignments and even how we might provide feedback to students and how they might provide feedback to one another, and how they might collaborate with one another. there's now a new co-intelligence in the room that students can leverage either to do the work for them or to help them, perform better. I guess ultimately during the spring, I started thinking about the notion of Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. It's really the reason why we would have students work together in groups or in teams in the first place, is that, any of us working by ourselves can do work kind of, pretty good or whatever it might be, whatever level, but then working with someone else, the end product would be, significantly better. So that zone, that improvement between working alone and working together, again, why we have students work together in groups, but also it really seems like maybe a purer version of that ZPD, that zone of proximal development, is really represented by the partnership that students might have with the AI itself. So student by themselves can produce here, but then, working with AI, the final product, that collaboration, would produce a better product. I think that's what the real world, the world of work is really seeing at this point. Um, Certainly there's a range of efficiencies around it as well, but the final product is indeed better. So it makes us rethink what does average work look like in our courses where we might embrace AI. Like the previous C level work might actually be F level work, given that AI can kind of produce average work. So it makes us rethink a lot of different things, and that really is what led me to want to engage in scholarship within this area.
Awesome. And then kind of, you know, what do you think educators can gain from reading your book? What are you most excited to like share with them from your book?
Oh, wow. There's a whole bunch of things that I'm really excited about within the book. I think number one is sort of helping faculty rethink how they might approach notions of academic integrity. Um, so that's one of the key things, helping them dispel the myth of AI detection, and that tools can do that well or can really help us discern when students have used AI. So that's one of the things that I'm really excited about. There's also sort of companion notions of, well, what are appropriate policies for our syllabus or even from one assignment to the next regarding the usage of AI. But the latter half of the book is really all about how we can leverage it for indeed teaching purposes. So rethinking assignments, rethinking grading, rethinking feedback. Those are some of the key highlights from the book.
Awesome. And you'll be diving more into this at the Teaching Professor Conference. So we're kind of going to switch gears. And what do you hope the attendees who are attending the conference kind of gain from your presentation? What do you hope they walk away with?
I hope they feel empowered. I hope they feel like, okay, so we've had a sense of like the challenge that is presented by the emergence of generative AI and students bringing it into our classrooms. But actually, there are a lot of ways that we can leverage it for our own teaching purposes to make our teaching better. But not only that, there are ways that students can use it, and we can prepare students to use it for life beyond college. So those are, I think, ultimately what I'm hoping people will get out of the presentation are some practical key strategies that they can employ back in their classroom to feel maybe a little bit less anxious about AI and its disruptive characteristics within higher education at the moment, and actually feel like, oh, wait a second, there's certainly some disruption, certainly some challenges, but there's some key opportunities here. And now I have some clear paths for how I might, take advantage of those opportunities.
And I like how you said empowered because, you know, so many instructors or educators, they might just be, struggling with AI in general. And so to just have that empowerment together as a community, I think is something that's really important right now and to go through it together. And then
Thanks.
kind of what individually are you looking forward to at the Teaching Professor Conference?
Well, some of my favorite characteristics of the conference is how practical it is. Like just looking at the list of pre-conference sessions that are available, and it just kind of covers the gambit of strategies and practices that people can employ in their own classroom setting. I love how evidence-based the sessions are, how much the conference really highlights what we know about how learning works, but making the transition from, say, this is research on learning, but rather, hey, this is how I leverage that knowledge within my classroom. So it's very applied. You come away with really a new full toolbox of teaching practice for your classroom.
Yes, for sure. And there's, over 70 sessions that you can, choose from to attend. And so there's everything for every topic to cater to whatever you need. And kind of for those who are still debating on whether, they should kind of take the leap to attend the conference, what advice do you have for them? Why should they take this opportunity?
Well, I think that the notion of having practical strategies, new ideas, sort of reinvigorating your teaching is certainly one of the key reasons why to consider coming to this conference. But again, the pre-conference workshops, there's a couple of plenary sessions. I'm fortunate to give one of those. Also, it's in New Orleans. I mean, you'll find some things to do in New Orleans whenever you're not in session. So great location, great conference, great program.
Yeah, and you said, reinvigorate your teaching. And I think every year that I've gone to this conference and that we've put this on, you just see the spark between educators and just how amazing it is to see them interact with each other and to get excited about things that, they weren't getting excited about before. So it's very special. And then lastly, is there anything in particular that, you're just most excited about sharing at the conference or that you're most excited about seeing at the conference? Just anything in general.
I think the thing that I'm most excited about is moving faculty forward with thinking about ways that they can make the most of AI and recognize, yes, there's challenge. Here's some practical ways to approach that challenge. There's practical ways that are fair-minded ways to approach concerns around academic integrity. But there's also some very practical things that we can do in terms of teaching and learning that will actually help us ensure our students achieve the learning outcomes we've designed for them, as well as coupling that knowledge with AI skills that will also be needed post-graduation.
And real quick, the topic of AI, it is ever changing. So when, we first started doing programs or articles about AI, it's different from where it's at now. Kind of how is your presentation and your book going to stay relevant in the topic of AI in education?
What's funny, we started the book, of course, we're recording this in early March right now, but we started the book just 9 months ago. So we completed the book a little bit less than 2 months ago. So it was in January of 2024 that we made our last round of edits. So it is still very much on point, on topic, though there's certainly a continuing role within this world. There's a lot of change that I think we're going to continue to experience within the context of generative AI for the next couple of years. I think we're going to see there's going to be some merger of products. Some companies are going to swallow up other companies. Also, there's products that's going to come to market. Apple has not come to market yet with a generative AI tool, though it's coming this summer. At least that's how it's being reported. So there will continue to be almost weekly advances within this space, and so certainly my presentation in June will uh, have those current up-to-date elements within it.
Awesome. We're so excited for, all of our attendees and to see you at the conference. So thank you so much for just sitting down with us today and talking with us.
Thank you, Tierney. Appreciated the conversation.